I want to thank Chairman Pallone and Mr. McNerney and Mr. Shimkus for their work on this, and thank you for including H.R. 2699 and the Nuclear Waste Policy Amendments Act of 2019 in today's markup. I've long been a supporter for establishing Yucca Mountain as the nation's permanent geological repository for nuclear waste. Nuclear waste sits in 121 communities in 39 states. The issue of spent nuclear fuel is a priority for me. My state is a leader in nuclear energy. South Carolina is home to 7 reactors at 4 locations: Catawba, Oconee, Robinson, and Sumner sites. These sites in South Carolina store nearly 5,000 metric tons of spent nuclear fuel from commercial reactors. In addition to commercial waste, the DOE Savannah River site stores about 8,000 tons of vitrified nuclear waste, along with 35 million gallons of high-level waste. Including interest, South Carolina ratepayers have paid over $3 billion to the DOE's Nuclear Waste Fund to permanently dispose of this used fuel at Yucca Mountain. This is the third most of any state in the country. This is a national issue, and it requires a national remedy. Due to the federal government's inability to complete the safety licensing process for a permanent repository at Yucca Mountain, the cost of the American taxpayer to pay for this inaction has more than doubled to $35 billion since 2009. This figure will continue to rapidly increase. Let's recognize the situation we're in. For almost a decade, the state of Nevada has been effectively setting federal policy for the entire country by blocking efforts to fund the safety licensing for the site and fostering notions that it should have absolute veto power over the will of Congress and the law about the use of federal land for a repository. This has led to recent efforts to abandon Yucca and effectively federal responsibility for permanent waste disposal. We can't let that happen. Almost exactly 37 years ago, Congress formally established a comprehensive nuclear waste management strategy. At the time, following a series of failed national repository siting efforts in the 1970s, it had become clear that no state would accept a permanent repository. But the responsibility of waste disposal was a federal responsibility, and Congress recognized that no state should have an absolute veto authority over a national decision. Nevertheless, the Nuclear Waste Policy Act of 1982, Congress sought to maximize the protection of states' rights by establishing that a state's veto of a chosen site was automatically effective unless the state's position was overridden by a joint resolution of Congress. Under the Act, Nevada formally informed Congress that it disapproved of the site in 2002 when DOE identified Yucca as suitable for development as a repository. Both houses of Congress overrode this state veto that year, and the D.C. Court of Appeals upheld the action as constitutional. In fact, the court found that because Yucca would be situated on federal land, Congress was well within its rights under the property clause of the Constitution to do so. The actions to halt the safety licensing of Yucca over the past decade have subverted this process. They have undermined Congress's thoughtful decisions and its authority. If we're to resolve the nuclear waste issue, we have to return to the law. We have to reverse a situation that is causing ratepayers in South Carolina and other states that use nuclear power to pay billions of dollars and taxpayers tens of billions of dollars more. We need to make Yucca a reality, and this bill ensures the structure is in place to license a permanent geological repository. This bill addresses and provides for interim storage, but links to a permanent repository. I welcome interim storage options to help more quickly remove the fuel from shutdown sites, but that has to be part of an integrated solution that is linked to permanent geological repository. This bill does just that. Nuclear energy is a critical part of our energy matrix and has significantly helped reduce our emissions as a nation. Unfortunately, the lack of a durable used fuel program is giving the U.S. nuclear industry a black eye. 75% of all reactors currently under construction are from Russia and China. These two countries, who are also our adversaries, are positioning themselves to take the leading role in establishing global nuclear norms. If we want to maintain our competitiveness in the global nuclear arena and continue to incentivize investment in the industry, it's imperative that we as a nation establish an integrated waste system and permanent repository. H.R. 2699 would advance that goal. Let me just remind my colleagues that they probably have spent nuclear fuel sitting on the shores of Lake Erie, on the shores of the Catawba River, the Broad River, the Lake Kiowee in my state, and other waterways around the country. We have a law of the land that requires a long-term repository at Yucca Mountain. It's time to get that done. I urge all my colleagues to support, and I yield back. Thanks.